She said no, but meant so much more. Not with anger, but with stillness, she made history tremble. One woman, one bus, the beginning of forever. She sat down so others could rise. One act of quiet defiance shook a system built on silence. Rosa Parks didn't start a protest. She started a movement. Montgomery, Alabama, December 1st, 1955. The bus moaned to a halt on Cleveland Avenue. Its doors hissed open like a beast exhaling steam. Rosa Parks climbed the steps slowly, her gloved hands wrapped around the leather strap of her purse, her breath caught in the chill of evening. She was 42, a seamstress, dignified, quiet, a woman with eyes like old books, deep, knowing, unread unless you were patient. The city had long taught her to shrink. She moved toward the colored section of the bus, midsection behind the white-only seats. She sat beside the window. The seat was stiff, like the city, unforgiving, built to remind her of her place. Outside, twilight curled its fingers around Montgomery's buildings. The air was laced with the scent of iron cotton, diesel, and the slow churn of something ready to break. The bus filled. At the next stop, a group of white passengers climbed aboard. The driver, a man whose name Rosa already knew, James F. Blake, looked at the row she sat in. His eyes were small, sunken, almost bored. He spoke with the casual cruelty of a man backed by law. "You all better move. Give up them seats." 3 black passengers stood, moved back. Rosa didn't. The moment she could feel him watching her, she didn't return the gaze. She didn't look up. She sat still, hands folded neatly over her purse, the silence in her more powerful than protest. The driver approached her, his face reddening. "Are you gonna move?" She turned her face toward him. It wasn't anger in her expression. It was disappointment, heavy and unspoken. The kind you might give a man who's already lost something and doesn't know it. No, it was not defiance in her voice. It was truth. It was a word shaped by centuries of backs bent and spines straightened again. He stared at her, unsure whether he'd just been challenged or pitied. "I'm gonna have you arrested," he muttered. "You may do that," she replied, calm as a hymn. The walk of chains. The police came. She stood on her own before they could drag her. A woman without armor, without an army. Just a soul that would not be sold. Flashbulbs didn't go off. There were no reporters, just her footsteps on pavement, steady and echoing louder than batons ever could. And yet, as they put her in the car, the sky seemed to shift. Something ancient exhaled. The wind changed direction. What followed wasn't chaos. It was strategy. The fire that walked within hours. The black community moved as if it had been waiting for this one ignition point. Leaflets printed by hand flooded the streets. Churches buzzed with electric purpose. The Montgomery Improvement Association was born that night. At its head, a 26-year-old minister with a voice like thunder wrapped in velvet. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In living rooms and basements, tired men and women folded maps, charted walking routes, planned carpools. They did not wait for permission. The boycott began. They wanted her to be small, invisible, to shrink into the corner and apologize for existing. But Rosa Parks sat still, with the quiet weight of centuries pressing into her spine, and the fire of every denied right burning just beneath her skin. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't lift a fist. She simply stayed where she was, and in doing so, she shattered the lie that power only lives in noise. Her stillness cracked the silence of the South, echoed through courtrooms and churches, and spread into every city that still fights to be seen. In that moment, on that bus, Rosa Parks wasn't just resisting. She was rewriting the rules of what resistance looked like. 381 days of defiance. Each morning, Rosa watched them pass by. Children in scuffed shoes, maids in pressed uniforms, teachers in Sunday coats. Walking, always walking. The buses rode hollow, their seats empty of black souls but heavy with shame. Drivers cursed wind. White merchants stared at silent stores. Montgomery's rhythm had been broken, and it was the walkers who carried the beat now. They didn't shout. They walked. In snow, in rain, in heat, with swollen ankles, with torn soles. But they walked, because she had sat, On November 13, 1956, the Supreme Court made it official. Bus segregation was unconstitutional. The city was forced to yield. When Rosa boarded a bus again, she sat where she chose. Not in protest, in principle. In silence that had rewritten the laws of a city and awakened the conscience of a country. What she carried, Rosa Parks, was not merely tired that day. That's what they liked to say later, that her feet hurt, that she was weary. But the truth was different. She was ready. That no had lived inside her for a long, long time. She carried the weight of ancestors who had ridden in chains, then plowed fields, then raised other people's children while their own went hungry. She carried the still-burning coals of every lynching, every humiliation, every yes whispered by a people too cornered to fight back. She sat so others could stand. She was still so history could move. She refused so a nation could reckon with what it had become. Rosa's defiance wasn't loud, but it reverberated. Through the Selma Bridge, through the March on Washington, through Ferguson, through George Floyd, through every knee that bends in protest and every fist that rises for justice. The civil rights movement didn't begin with a war cry. It began with a woman who said with devastating clarity, no. Inspiration isn't always thunder. Sometimes it's the quiet power of a spine that refuses to bend.